It's our good pal Chris Russell from up there, Team 980 WrestleMania. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Jay, how are you, pal? Good to be on
Uh,
with you as always. Thanks for the
Always a
invite.
pleasure. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for making time, man. I know you're so busy. I was a Hail Mary that I get you on the program today, so I appreciate you
Anything
coming
for you.
down with the grab. You're the best, man.
Anything
All
for
right.
you, man. I know you're a big hockey guy, and
I love it.
it was man, it was an unbelievable weekend. I ain't gonna lie. For me, it doesn't eclipse what I was lucky enough to witness in 2018 with them winning the Stanley Cup in Vegas and all that stuff. But Friday night at Capital One Arena, which that place rocks. Was really cool to see 893 and then 894 and how close he was at several points to getting another goal, if not two or three more on Friday night. And I thought Friday night he had a good chance going in despite needing a hat trick. A, Chicago's terrible. B, he's got a flair for the dramatic. And then to, be one short because he did not want to go on the ice for an empty netter. To be one short going in yesterday afternoon, quick turnaround, another stretch of 3 games and 4 nights for them, what have you. I wasn't sure if he was going to get it because Sorokin and the Islanders don't take a lot of penalties. That's Alex's specialty, obviously, on the power play. I guess most great goal scorers are going to clean up on the power play, but they're also pretty good defensively, Sorokin and the Islanders. So I wasn't sure if he was going to get it, but there was one moment where he almost stuffed in 895 to the side of the net, maybe 2 minutes or so, 3 minutes before the actual goal. And I was like, oh, he's alive. Because it was a sleepy first period. And I said, oh, he's alive. It's going to happen today. And then bam.
That was, when you have a hockey game in the middle of the afternoon encapsulating the focus of sports fans all across the world. I think that's one of the coolest things is, it's so easy to be able to see, NFL reaction on Twitter and on Instagram and all that stuff because it's king in this country, right? But when you see athletes, when you see teams, when you see former players and just even people just not even in sports recognizing what Alexander Ovechkin did, it's one of my favorite things to see when hockey is put under the microscope and under the spotlight like that. So what was that like, man? Take me through when, obviously it's on the power play. It was so picture perfect when he scores that goal. You want it to be in Ovechkin-esque fashion. To be able to kind of watch that unfold after covering him for so long. What was that like?
Yeah, so the one thing that I'll say, man, I wish it would have worked out exactly this way. It was a wicked wrister, right? A wicked drag wrister, but it wasn't a one-timer, which so many of his goals from what they call the OV office have been. But it was a wicked wrister. It was a clean goal, obviously, short side. And Spencer Carberry, the coach, after the game told us, he's like, he had this like really honed in vision and right before the goal. And he thought it was going to happen on that particular power play. And he said he could see from his vantage point on the bench, just this small little sliver of space to the short side of Sorokin. And he said, I wonder, or he was basically thinking to himself, I guess, it's going to happen here. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen on that side. And sure enough, it happened. But again, the one kind of thing that I wish I could draw if I was making it perfectly, besides being at home, would be, again, that it was on a one-timer because that's his specialty. But I will say this, the Islanders crowd, which is always a very passionate hockey crowd, was very, 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 very good. There were, I would say, 5,000-ish, maybe a little bit more in terms of Capitals fans there that made the trip. The place was flooded with red, which is not surprising. When you win as much as they do, obviously the Lightning get a lot of fans, I'm sure, on the road, wherever they go, especially when they were winning championships and so on and so forth. That happens. But the place was electric. New York is a great hockey area, even though it loves other sports as well and more. The bottom line is to see it happen the way it did. One other thing, Jay, and you big hockey guy, Nick Backstrom, who has been his his Robin to his Batman
Yep.
his entire career. He just can't play anymore, but he's still around the team, and he was in the building yesterday. I wish that pass somehow, some way, majestically would have come from him. It's the guy he handed the cup to back in 2018. It was, again, his Robin to his Batman. I wish that would have happened, but man, it was from a hockey sense, it was so awesome. And the swan dive and the dog pile and the ceremony. I didn't know what they were exactly planning. I knew they were going to stop the game, but I mean, they rolled out all the bells and whistles and did everything. And obviously they had planned well in advance for this moment. And they hit it, I think, to a T.
Yeah, I thought they did a fantastic job. And I know some people were complaining about the length. I'm like, listen, it's at the end of the regular season. The Islanders aren't making the playoffs. Like, let's just have a nice moment here in the middle of the day on a Sunday for everybody to enjoy, celebrate one of the, he's a living legend, man. He's the greatest goal scorer, and he passed the greatest player of all time, on a record that nobody thought was going to be broken. And you're right. It was good to see Backstrom, good to see TJ Oshie, good to see, even John Cooper was in the building yesterday because the Lightning play the Rangers tonight.
There,
which was pretty cool with that. What was it like to see, and this is what I love about hockey, and not taking anything away from other sports, and you get this being in radio. I feel like with other sports, sometimes there's such a legacy battle. There's such an era battle. My era is better than yours. We see it probably in hoops more than anything. Well, in my era, I would have done this, or your era, you wouldn't have done anything. But there's just something different about hockey where there is a lot of tradition. There's a lot of passing down. There's a lot of passing the torches. They really do understand that like records are made to be broken. And to see Wayne Gretzky on the ice last night wearing a number 9 pin to honor Gordie Howe, the guy that he passed, and to have his wife there give a nice gift to Ovi's wife after that's what Gordie Howe's wife did for his wife, Janet. Like, I just thought that was like a moment of, this is why hockey is so awesome. What did you make of that ceremony?
Yeah, I mean, so cool to hear you say that, because I know you're just a really, really, really good hockey fan and great reporter and host and all that. So, as you were describing that, I mean, I knew you would be right on that. The thing for me that has been so cool, is like I didn't. All right, this is going to sound weird. I didn't know Wayne had that personality. And Friday night, we got to meet with him after the first period. So after 893, before 894, we got to meet with him and cracking jokes and one-liners like he was a stand-up comedian and doing it dry panned without cursing or anything like that. Just really funny. And you saw him on the mic yesterday, right? And he only butchered Ted Leonsis, the owner's name, a couple of times, once on the ice and once in the locker room. But okay, whatever. I mean, no big deal there, right? But Wayne was funny, and he was filled with humility, and he was filled with grace, and, all of that stuff. So that was awesome to see. I love, as a dad, I love seeing all the love that Ovi shows publicly for his 2 sons, who are growing up in the midst of this unbelievable athlete and this Russian machine that almost never breaks, right? And that is a website around here, Russian Machine Never Breaks. He broke for about 5.5 weeks earlier this year and came right back and started kicking everybody's ass, So, I mean, there's so many things. Yesterday in the locker room, I'm talking to Tom Wilson, and it's right to the side of Ovi's locker. And Ovi comes over in the sweat-drenched undershirt, and he cracks open a beer, and he starts busting Tom Wilson's chops. And Tom Wilson starts giving it a little bit back to him, and just like almost like. And Tom was talking about how close they are, and I know they're close, and how good of a leader he is, and how good of a teammate he is. I mean, this dude took out, not to get too in the weeds, Ryan Leonard was a top 10 pick 2 years ago, right? Top prospect in the Capitals organization. He makes his NHL debut after BC gets eliminated in college hockey on Tuesday in Boston. He and Jacob Chikrin, who was another big addition that they made in a trade with Ottawa this offseason, who Ovi's really close with, he and Chikrin take Ryan Leonard out to dinner and drinks on Monday night in Boston, right? And they're just in the middle of the bar, sitting at the bar, just slinging a couple of drinks. And Ovi, I mean, like Friday night after he tied the record, he immediately cracks open a Bud Light. They had a thing, kind of waiting there for him. Yesterday, again, as soon as he gets in the locker room, now, after the champagne shower, he cracks a beer, right? And this used to be like a thing that was worrisome to me earlier in his career, right? He was known as a partier and, a guy who was enjoying life. He was a rock star, and for good reason. Now it's like, I mean, I know he comes in shape. I know he works his ass off. And some people want to ding him for not going, 185 feet at full speed all the time. Man, come on. Like, stop, get your head out of Don Cherry's butt and relax. The guy's unbelievable, and he's a great leader and a great captain and a great teammate and a really, really good person. I will say that. Like, I think he was misunderstood early in his career. He was a missile out there, and he didn't know how to do things, right? He's developed over 20 years into a really, really good person. A rock star and a really good person. Sorry, that's long, but
no, that's great. I mean, no, that's understood. That's an insight that we need to hear. And all right, before I let you go, because I know we're up against it, what are now that this is behind you, now that this is behind you, what's the focus for this Capitals team? Because obviously they're blowing the doors off the East here. Yeah, I mean, we're in the Atlantic, diddling around trying to get the 1 seed, but we're like, hey, is there any chance for the number 1 overall seed in the East? Like, no, check the Metropolitan standings. You ain't catching the Capitals. Obviously, we saw the physical contest against Carolina. What's the focus now that such a big, not obstacle, but a big event is behind you? Now you got to focus on winning hockey games. Yeah,
no doubt, because they have played poorly over the last 2 weeks. There is no doubt about that. And that's it. I mean, it's getting healthy, staying healthy. Now that the traveling circus is over, and there'll always be media and extra media around because it's Alex Ovechkin and because they're going to be the 1 seed and maybe overall in the NHL and certainly in the East and so on and so forth. But they have not played good hockey the last 2 weeks, and they've got a big injury to Alexei Protas, who's a 30-plus goal scorer, who's their main or one of their top penalty killers, who's just a big hulking dude. Trust me, he almost killed me in an elevator yesterday. They right now their top goaltender, Logan Thompson, who was struggling a little bit before he got hurt. He's got a concussion, so he's day-to-day. We'll see what happens with him. He should be back in, probably not Thursday against Carolina, but maybe next weekend in a back-to-backer against Columbus. But we'll see how he recovers from that. We'll see if anybody else gets injured. But they've got to get their defensive game on track. They've got to get their goaltending on track. They got to get everything kind of buttoned down, their lines, everybody again on one page. They're not playing a good back and forth game, and it's hurt them. It's caught up to them in terms of the goals allowed. So I would say over the next 10 to 12 days or whatever it is until the end of the regular season, that's the number one focus now that this piano monkey, whatever, is off their back, right? And it did affect, I think, the team as a whole. So that's it. And, remember, they have not won a first-round playoff series since the Stanley Cup year, which was 2018. To put it in perspective, since then, the Lightning have won 2 Stanley Cups and made it to a Stanley Cup final, right? It's been a long time. You've like with all this regular season, great sustained play, great, awesome. They might win the President's Trophy, all that. I don't believe in jinx. They've got to make it past the first round. If they lose to Montreal or Ottawa or whoever in the first round, that is bad news bears, man.
We don't want that at all. Yeah, we see how that goes in the East sometimes. You have some success, all of a sudden you start looking around, you're like, damn, we haven't won a first-round playoff series. It's just a lot of good talent here in the Eastern Conference. WrestleMania 621 on Twitter/X. You can check them out, Team 980, 1 to 4 p.m., team980.com/listen. Go check out every once in a while. I want to hear what's going on with my guy, Chris Russell, and things up there in the nation's capital. I always tune in. Chris, you're the best, man. Thank you so much again. So happy that you were there to experience that. We talk about sports a lot for a living, but we all started as sports fans, and to be able to be in the building for moments like that, it's why we inevitably get into this business. business. So congratulations, my friend, on being there, and we'll talk to you again soon, bud. Thanks.
My guy, I appreciate all the kind words as always. Appreciate you having me. Love you, man. And anytime you need anything, let me know. And we'll be talking about obviously the Bolts and and the Caps and maybe a little raise in bucks along the way. So
you got it, pal. Thanks, Chris.
appreciate you.
All right, buddy.